Hello, and welcome to another episode of Totally Not Taboo with Tracy here at your media, #where you are. This is where we talk about everything and anything that is taboo around sex and sexuality. We have a very special guest in the studio. We have Gigi. Welcome, Gigi.
Thanks for inviting me.
Such a pleasure.
Thanks, Tracy.
So Gigi, for those of you who know her, has an extensive history in the entertainment world. And we're going to ask Gigi to introduce herself. She has many accolades. And if you ask most men if they know who Gigi is, they will tell you. And I think as South Africans, you are most famous for your 2020 win
of Survivor.
As Survivor,
yes.
The Sole Survivor.
Yes.
And I'm so proud of you. I mean, any woman who wins a competition like that, especially against men, wow, that's so awesome.
Yes.
Gigi is also the owner of the Lollipop Lounge, and she's owned this club for 16 years.
17 years this year. Yes.
And you've been dancing. You were
and before
dancing.
that, since 2000, I danced. So I danced for 15 years before that.
Wow.
So I know the industry inside out. And I work with young people every day of my life. And I love my club. I love my job. And we're going through a very, very hard time now with the entertainment, of course, and especially with closing so early at night, 11 o'clock. Everybody must cash up, and that's very hard because our busiest times used to be from 11 o'clock till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
So we're going through a rough time.
Right.
But we are strong survivors.
Yeah, no, definitely. I want to hear about all of that.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk today about why men like it, and that's strip clubs, and why women don't. And all the taboo around strip clubs.
Mm-hmm. Yes, in the old days, strip clubs used to be very taboo.
Yes.
It was not a place where women was even seen. Strippers did it undercover. They never spoke about it. We've got a completely different scenario at the moment. The girls that's dancing now, a lot of them are students. They're very well educated, well spoken. They use the money to put themselves through varsity, many of them. Very little drugs in the club. These schools work with no clothes on. So it's very easy to see a girl that's on drugs. And that used to be the old stigma. All dancers are on drugs. That's absolute nonsense. Time is money in a strip club. And I work with young people. Even my dancers range from 18 to even 50 years old.
Wow.
So they can have a long run. And I always say to the young girls coming in, if you need to drink to dance, then it's not for you. If you need to take drugs to dance, it's not for you. But we see more and more female customers coming into the club. Lots of them coming in big groups. We've seen more and more bachelorette parties, birthday parties, where the girls come in and they experience their sensuality and they jump on stage, and it's sometimes very difficult to get them off the stage.
And when they're on the stage, do they take off their clothes?
Everything. Sometimes everything. Sometimes they just go topless. Sometimes they're very shy. We have to give them a little drink to make them feel more sensual. But most of the time, the girls come in and they have a lot of fun on stage. And I think it's such a nice place where people can go out to, female friends can go out together and have a nice time, because the guys are not hitting on you. Yes. They're hitting on the dancers.
Yes. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So the girls will go there for a fun night out, right? They'll have a couple of toots. They're not really particularly interested in watching the dancers, are they?
Some of the girls go there and they watch the girls, and then after a while, then they build up the courage and they go on stage with the girls.
Right.
Because, when you go to a strip club and you sit and you watch the dancers, it's a slice of life. And also, these girls are so powerful on stage.
Yes.
And it's interesting to sit there and to see how they experiment with their sensuality on stage and how they experiment with the power that they have on stage. And I always say to the girls, that power that you feel when you go on stage and you perform is the same power that you're going to have one day when you walk into a boardroom. That power over the men that you have. And that's the interesting.
So I have that. So I'm going to ask you, before I have my say, I have this idea that every woman, almost every woman, of course I'm generalizing, has this fantasy to be a stripper. And what, in my opinion, what this is about is to be adored. Firstly, you're on a stage and men are looking up to you. They're adoring you. They want you. You are a center of attraction, but not, you're more than that.
Your desire.
Yes, exactly.
It's all
You're
about
center
desire.
of desire.
Yes.
And all women want to be desired.
Yes.
Let's not kid.
Yes.
So would you agree with me that it's a lot of women's fantasy?
Yes, I think so. Deep down, I think a lot of women, it must be a fantasy to be put on a platform and to be admired by men. But it's all about how you feel as a woman. You know, I mean, you can walk down Checkers, down the aisle, and if you do it gracefully with essentiality, you know, people are, you know, that you've got to portray that. And a lot of time we get young girls coming in, and I can see how they change. And that's why I like to work with the girls, because they come in, you just see this butterfly, and because now she realizes the power that she's got as a female. And that's the nice thing. And I always say, it doesn't matter what body size you are, what shape you are, it's all about here, your sensuality, how you feel as a woman.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I always say that the largest sex organ in a person's body is their brain.
Yes.
The biggest is the brain,
yes.
and the second is the skin.
Yes.
So Gigi, tell me what got you into dancing?
Well, I studied drama at Stellenbosch.
Right.
And I did dancing as part of my 3 years at Stellenbosch. And we did mime and cabaret and everything. And then when I got to Johannesburg, I started working at the Pap Theatre.
Yes.
And it was amazing years because it was full of ballerinas and there was the orchestra and it was such a creative place. And I worked for 180 Rand those years a week. And then I saw a small little advert asking for cabaret dancers, and I didn't have a clue what it was about. So I went for the audition, and they said to me, it's a 20-minute show, and you have to take it's topless. You keep your G-string on, and you go topless. So, I mean, those years, I did Equus when I was a student at Stellenbosch. So I did a full frontal nude scene.
What is Equus?
Equus is it's a play about a young guy that's got a bit of problems and he plays off in a stable, but there's a love scene between him and a girl, and the girl goes completely naked in this production, and it's a full frontal female scene naked and a male scene naked, and the theatre in Stellenbosch was booked out. I mean, that was taboo those years to see people naked on stage.
What year was that, and how old were you?
Well, it was 1989. Just before I started dancing. I started dancing here in the early 90s. And I had to put a photo of my father in the foyer so that I don't allow him in, because he would have taken me off that stage. He would have been so angry.
Because he was Jehovah's Witness.
Yes. I grew up extremely religious.
Yes.
And my dad would he would have dragged me off the stage. And then I came to Johannesburg and I saw this little advert as a cabaret dancer, and then I started dancing, and then I just danced from the one club to the next. It was wonderful years. The girls were safe. You used to run from the one club, and the costumes were beautiful, full of diamante. You could choose your theme. It was just a wonderful world. And then I started dancing at big functions, fundraisers. I met such interesting people. And this is what this book is about. That I wrote. Those early days, Gigi, Nipple Caps and G-Strings. It's everywhere. Go out and buy the book.
I'm so looking forward to reading it.
It's an old Joburg book. It's about the story how Joburg used to be in those years when I started dancing.
When it was really taboo.
Yes.
Yeah,
I also tell the story in the book where that's why it's called Nipple Caps and G-Strings, because we used to dance in the club. And we used to set up our G-strings in the dressing room, because those were the years where the clubs got raided all the time. And we used to set up our nipple caps, little plasters full of glitter, so that in case there was a raid, you could quickly put on your nipple caps, so that it looked like you were wearing them, but the G-string never came off. And sometimes we used to do the private shows where it was completely naked, and that was done all hush-hush, and the guys had to vote for each other. Do you know the guy next to you? Because it was so strict.
Wow.
Yeah, and there was raids all the time.
Sure. So let's just go back to the Jehovah Witnesses.
Okay.
Because for me, this is about the taboo, right? How does a religious child, grown up in this very religious family, how do you get out of that culture, that religious, very strict culture? How does that happen?
Well, I've got 3 sisters, and not any one of us is still Jehovah's Witnesses. And when as kids, you do what your parents do. So when they go to church, you go to church,
Absolutely.
and you just follow what your parents do. But when I started going to varsity, then I never went back to the congregation. And I've even worked now with dancers that come from Jehovah's Witness families, from backgrounds. And that was very interesting because we all grew up the same way. And we grew up in Paarl, so which was very conservative. And, I talk about it in the book as well. My father was a very creative man. He was a composer. And I think my mother tried to get the family into being a Jehovah's Witness to keep the whole family structure together. Because my dad couldn't really compose choir works because he couldn't, the Inge Kerk wouldn't allow him, because he wasn't an Inge Kerk man, for the choir to sing his works or anything like that. So he was very frustrated as a creative person.
Interesting,
very
interesting. And so did you see yourself as a rebellious person who wanted to rebel against the church or parents? Or
No, not at all. I just think everybody must make their own decisions. I am my husband is much more spiritual than I am, but we go to church on Sundays, and I like going. It's a nice small little congregation. But I think everybody's religious, being spiritual, it differs from person to person.
Absolutely, for sure. And did you receive any kind of backlash, criticism as a dancer, as a stripper, from your family, community?
Yes. When my mother found out, they weren't happy. My father, we tried to, I think only one of my sisters knew that I started dancing in Johannesburg. And when my mother found out, my father has passed away, and he died quite early. So my mother, then she realized, okay, this is what I really wanted to do. I'm making a career out of this. And then she came to the shows, for a woman from Paarl to come into a club where the girls are all on the tables with their legs in the air. And that was quite a shock for her. But I think then she realized that I'm going to do this for the long run. And she's made some of my costumes, and she's really been supportive. And even with writing the book, she was there to help me through all of this. So she really supported me, and she understood that I was going to be a showgirl, and there was going to be no turning back.
And your sisters, did they support you?
Yes, my sister, she's got 8 dance schools in Holland. Very different dance schools. She teaches dancing for little ones.
Yes.
But so she's been very supportive. And my other sister is in Canada, also very supportive. Yeah.
So you've been very lucky.
Yes.
In making this transition.
Yes. I'm just a lucky girl.
I think so. I think you are a very lucky girl.
I
am. So you did that full frontal in that Equus.
Yes, for the production. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And did you get any criticism from that?
Not. I think people were so shocked. I mean, the theatre was booked out. We had to prolong the production. And it was, the students just couldn't believe what they were seeing because it was just so taboo those days. But I think it paved the way for me forward to when I got to Joburg, started dancing topless. Eventually the G-string came off. And I danced for 15 years. And every night I spent next to the stage at the Lollipop Lounge, especially over the weekends. And I just love working with the young people. So I'm still doing stage, whether I study drama, and I'm still sitting in front of a stage every night.
It's fantastic. Yeah. And in terms of your sexuality, was that something that you instantly just moved into? Were you always in touch with your sexuality even as a little girl? Was that something that you had to get into? Tell me how that all evolved.
I always say, being a dancer, not everybody can go out and be a dancer, because it's a certain kind of personality. You've got to be a complete exhibitionist,
Mm.
and you've got to like what you do. And I always danced. I mean, I did ballet and mime, jazz, everything. So I always wanted to dance, and that's why a normal girl from the street, not if anybody's going to walk into a strip club and become a dancer. We don't have a lot of people in South Africa that's going to say to you, I am my career is going to be that as of a stripper. Very few.
Yeah. So are you saying that being a dancer already, when you're in your body, you're already into your sexuality?
I think so. I think so. You've got to be proud of who you are. You've got to be proud to show off your body, and yeah, you can't be shy.
Yes.
But you know, a lot of times I also say it's not about being the best dancer at the strip clubs. It's a lot of times being the best listener.
Yes.
Because we got a lot of guys that come in that really just want to sit and talk to somebody.
Yes.
And you've got to remember that's his name. This is what he likes to drink. There's a lot of lonely people that come to a club and they sit down and they talk. It's just taking all the stress away of the whole day. Just to come in, you're talking to a beautiful young girl. A lot of the guys don't even take them for dances. They just want to sit and talk.
That's also true.
Yeah.
So yeah, you become a psychologist as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in terms of control within the club, I mean, I was reading also an article about the fine line between prostitution and stripping, you know, in terms of what goes on behind closed doors kind of thing. Like, where do you draw the line between a lap dance and then the client offering some extra money for a blowjob or something like that?
Yes. The line is very fine, and people don't understand that sometimes. And that's why I say to women, come into the clubs, come and see what's going on. Because these girls are very, very self-assured. They're business girls because time is money in a strip club. And the minute that a man walks into a strip club, it's money. The girls just see money.
Yes.
So we are not there to take your husbands. We are there to take their money. And that's what it's all about.
But it has happened, right?
Yeah.
We were chatting earlier. It has happened that men have fallen in love with the dancers.
Yes, I've seen it. A lot of the people that I've danced with, they've actually gone out, started dating the guys after work. And then the first thing that he does is he buys her a flat. And then they want to change her.
Yes.
And then eventually he's going to say, but you're nothing but a stripper.
Yes.
And I always say to the girls, do not date the guys outside the club. Because the minute that you're going to date him outside the club, he's not going to spend the money on you like he's spending on you at the club. And the scenario that I've seen many times at the guys, those lines that they throw at the girls and say that firstly, he was going to want to change her. And secondly, he's going to say, you're nothing but a stripper.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Did any of those kinds of things happen to you personally? Men wanting to own you, men becoming jealous of you, not wanting for you to, let's say, give other men lap dances and so on.
Yeah, this is what I'm writing in the book as well, because this is my second marriage. And my first marriage was, I was married to a motoring journalist, and he was never at home. And I was always dancing. So, and also long hours. It's a very tough industry. It's long hours. It's a cruel audience, because you can be in a club with 20 girls and the guys will say to you, listen, you're too fat, please call that one. It's a very cruel audience, and you've got to, it's show business at the end of the day. And so a lot of times there's a lot of tears in the dressing room, but the show must go on. And so in my case, I was never at home. I mean, I've got a parrot now that says bye, 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 because he never saw me. Yes. I was never at home, but now I'm in a different. I've got a very nice group of staff that's working for me, and I've got the luxury that I can go into the club when I want to go in, and I'm married to a man that there's no jealousy between us. But you cannot be in a relationship and be a dancer if there's no trust in the relationship. Definitely not.
So you kind of give these young girls who come in a soft landing, so to speak.
Yes. We give them a safe environment into working.
Right.
Firstly, you're safe because you've got the bouncers there. The club is clean. It's a safe environment to earn money in. But as I said, not every girl can become strippers. You know, sometimes I've got girls coming in and they last a week and they say, I can't do it. We're not forcing anybody to do anything. I always say to them, if you don't want to dance, if you need to drink to dance, it's not for you. But some of the girls are truly great showgirls.
So who helped you into the industry? Did you have a mentor?
Well, my first husband and myself, we used to work on the shows together. We worked on the music together. It was a lot of fun those years. And then when I started to get to know the girls that I worked with, they were so professional. I mean, I worked with great performers. And I think the whole group together, and the one you had to do a better show than the other girl. There was big competition on stage. That was fun.
And would you say it's still the case now?
You know, you don't see the glitzy outfits anymore, and the diamante and the feathers and the hair and those things that we had. And we used to do 20-minute shows. It's a long time to entertain people. And the South African audience are very spoiled because you walk into a strip club and there's girls topless on stage the whole time. And we have naughty shows on a Friday and Saturdays, and the girls. I'm sure that I'm training every girl that you can do a show. So everybody must have a chance to do a show because I just love my shows. I love my theme. I like my costumes. I like the music. So if you work for Gigi, you can have few shows. That's for sure.
So tell me about these shows, because I have been to a strip club before. Unfortunately, not to yours, but I plan on coming. And I was quite bored.
Okay.
I was disappointed. A lot of the times the girls looked quite bored and just doing the movements by rote. It was not very exciting.
Yeah. So we tried to make it more exciting by taking the customers on stage.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And then working out a theme and getting them on stage. I mean, last Friday night we had a customer on stage, a female customer on his lap with the dancers. So there was such a lot of action on the stage. And that's nice and that's a lot of fun.
So give me an example of a theme.
Oh, well, you can do a cowboy theme. You can do a nurse. You can do a school teacher. You work out the
props.
Costume and the props. Yeah.
Oh, sounds like so much fun.
It is.
I'm definitely coming to this.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Then you were also saying that there are no drugs. Well, I mean that your girls don't do drugs.
Yeah.
And
some of the girls that's been working for us has been there for many years, and they protect their workspace.
Yes.
So the minute that you get somebody that comes in that will bring anything into the club, they will quickly tell us. But as I said, they wear little clothes. Yes. And you can see when people are using drugs because you can see marks on their hands. Right. You can see their attitude. But those whole stigma about the strippers is something that I think has gone away.
Has it?
Yeah.
And most of them enjoy what they do?
Well, it's like I said, it's a hard industry. Some of the girls, now at the moment we're working from 1 o'clock lunchtime till 11 o'clock, and that's a long hours. But now with the curfew and stuff like that, we've got, that's how we have to run it at the moment. But and so by 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock, people are tired. You know, and you are competing the whole time with the other girls. And sometimes when you've got 20 girls on the floor, you might have 2 beautiful girls. So everybody is there to make money at the end of the day, of course. Yeah.
So why men like it and why women don't? It's a little bit of an obvious question.
Because men are hunters.
Okay, carry on.
So when men walk into a strip club, it's that primal instinct of, oh, with my 200 rand, you're going to dance for me. And when she dances for him, she, with her eyes, are portraying a desire that maybe his wife had on their honeymoon. That was the last time his wife maybe looked at him like that. And he buys into the desire. That's what they do with his 200 rand. It's like going to a circus. The guy knows that while she's dancing for him, she's got a different life out there. She might have kids. But you buy into the fantasy for those 2 or 3 songs. And that's what makes it. And that's why men feel powerful, because he bought bought the lust, he bought the desire for
Yes.
that amount of time when the girl's dancing for.
Right, I get that. And a partner, a wife, a lover, they don't like strip clubs.
Well, we see more and more couples coming into the clubs together and experimenting. And let me tell you, if you go and dance for a couple, you dance for the wife.
Yes.
And you can touch her skin, you can kiss her, and you can hold her. And it's because while you're dancing for her, you're actually giving a show for him.
Yes.
Because somehow men love to see women together.
Yes, they do.
They want to be in the middle of two girls.
Yes.
So many times when you go and do a show for a couple, you concentrate on the girl because you know the guy's going to love it. And the girl loves it. And there's nothing better than touching a woman because she's soft and she smells nice and the skin is soft. And that is so sensual.
It is. And the women who don't trust their partners, their men partners, going to strip clubs, do you agree with that they shouldn't be trusting their partners?
Well, you know, I know a lot of guys that love to go to strip clubs. I know guys that's not interested in going to strip clubs. The same with women. But I always say, going to a strip club is like smelling a nice plate of food. You can smell it, but you can't eat it. So you can go home and you eat at home. And I understand why women get jealous if they find, we've had some, I tell everything in the book. We've had some very funny scenes at the club of girls arriving at the front door looking for their husbands. Yeah. So we do not allow a girl, if you had to come to the club by yourself, we're not going to allow you in. You have to come in a group. Because we just can't trust you. And you say, I'm here for a good time, but you might be looking for your husband. And we know because we've been through that. We've learned so much through the years.
Yeah.
But you can understand why women get jealous of their wives, of their husbands coming to them.
Absolutely. And it would be, I suppose each relationship is unique. But it would be nice if the relationship would be honest and open, and if the men were innocently just going to look and not eat, for a good night, for a good time, and the woman could be okay with that, and then just allow their men the opportunity to have the freedom and know that they're coming home to them. And I think that that's the real scary part. For a lot of women. But I wonder, it would probably be worse for men. How many men would be okay with their
wives going to go and watch the boys?
Absolutely.
Yeah, when you turn it around, the same thing, yes.
And I think that they would be very unhappy.
Yes.
Speaking of which, I know, how many male strip clubs are there?
I think there's one, if it's still going. I think there was one, but you know, the male strip clubs, like we at the Lollipop Lounge, we get bachelorette parties and birthday parties with a lot of girls coming in, and then we bring solo dancers in. So they have a show, and the girls go wild. The girls are actually scary wild.
Yes.
Very.
I think so.
And you know, they pay a lot of money to see the boys naked, and they're very choosy about what he must look like and all stuff like that. So yes, we do cater for that.
Okay.
But it's special occasions, I think. I think the most strip clubs is not as busy as we are, because I think women are I think they're thinking about other things, you know. I think they're too busy with kids, but like I said, men go to strip clubs for that primal instinct of hunting. And I don't think women are such big hunters, you know.
Interesting stuff. So tell us about Survivor.
Terrible.
Is it?
Terrible. Yeah.
Tell me.
Yeah. You know, the thing is, Mnet phoned me and said, they asked me to do Celebrity Survivor. And I just thought this was going to be great advertisement. I'm just going to sit it out as long as possible. I didn't have a clue what it was about. 4 days into sitting on Santa Carolina in Mozambique, a big storm broke out. Mnet packed up all the crew members and they left for the hotel, and we were left on the island. And it's then that I realized what I actually was letting myself in for. And it ended up 27 nights sleeping on the sand and eaten by the sand fleas, and I lost 7 kilograms. And I came out and I walked out there as a winner. I mean, that's just how it worked out. But it's not a game for you. Firstly, you vote out all the strong boys. So it's the ones the weaker people stay behind. So I was just lucky. That's what I was.
Do you think
lucky.
so? Really?
Very lucky, yes. Because I've a lot of the contestants, I think they just kept me on the sideline because it was easy to get rid of Gigi later on. And then when they turned around, I was there, still there. And I didn't, I worked with them. You have to work together, eat very little, because when it comes to the food, everybody looks at how much everybody's eating. And it was a great advertisement for me.
Was it?
Yeah, it was really great. So I won that in 2010. And then just after I won it, Lolly Jackson got murdered, unfortunately. Yes. And that was not good for us because I was on a platform, I was telling it's not from the underworld, strippers, these are all business schools, and then he got murdered, and it was very bad publicity with his death.
Yes. Yeah. I get that. And how did you overcome that? How did you get out of that?
Well, then by that stage we had Lollipop Lounge, and Lolly Jackson he was very jealous of the club. The name was chosen to actually take. We always said we're going to take Lolly, we're going to be better than Lolly Jackson, and there was another venue, the Lounge, and that's how the name came about. But at the end, we're still there 17 years later, and so it's not from the underworld. Lolly was from the underworld. Yes. Not the clubs are very professionally run. Yeah. I see it as work provision for young South African girls. I've got girls from all races, and I just love watching them grow and watching them develop and watching them becoming showgirls in their own right.
And I'm sure the demographic has changed as well. From maybe being an only white. The white industry, dancing industry, now it's become multiracial, right?
Yes, very, very multiracial. Yes, I've got even my bouncers. I've changed my bouncers over the years. So the whole club has changed. As Joburg has changed. So I think we kept up with the times in that regard.
Anything else you want to share with us that's not in your book? I mean, I know you want everybody to buy a book, and I know that that's very exciting. But anything else about the industry that you experienced? You were also talking about your charities that you have got. There was also one. I know I'm jumping around, but you were doing a lot of work in the schools. At one stage, about drug awareness.
Well, that's when we, right in the beginning, just when I started, that's before I started dancing. I went on stage as an actress in a production called Drug, and we worked with a rehabilitated drug addict.
Right.
And it was wonderful working with him. I had very little knowledge those years. I was playing a character of a young girl that eventually goes on drugs to show the kids what's going to happen when you go on drugs. And working with Steve Hamilton was extremely rewarding. And little did I know that production would have taught me so much working with the young people in the club nowadays. Yeah.
And your work with the young people, is it empowering? Is it, what kind of work do you do with them?
We're working, like I said, between 18 to 50 years.
Yes.
Okay? And I danced for a long time myself. So when I stand up and I'm talking to the girls, I know where they're coming from.
Yes.
I understand that I can take you, I'm going to teach you how to be a showgirl and what I'm looking at. But also, that's when I say to them, listen, it's not about being the best dancer. And when you sit in the club and you look at your other colleagues when they're busy dancing, you steal a little bit from this girl, and you steal a little bit from this girl, but you have to walk onto stage with your own identity. And you have to see it as a business. Save your money. You are 18, but before you wipe out your eyes, you're going to be 30, you're going to be 40. And the fine line about what are you going to do when you finish dancing, you do not want to go into prostitution. Study. Yeah. The girls are sitting they're sitting at the club long hours. I say read, write, bring your books, study, but use your time when you're sitting in a club.
Absolutely. That's great. That's great advice. And I'm thinking, streets ahead about an academy of sorts.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Where you can teach them business management and starting their own kind of businesses and and maybe modeling and my mind is just going off in all different types of directions. Because yes, as you're right, they're not always going to be looking so beautiful.
No.
They might fall pregnant. Bodies might not stay the same, and so on. So it isn't very. Even though you say there are still dancers in their 50s, the longevity of a dancer.
And let me tell you, the girls in 50 that's dancing for us is gorgeous, and they smell money. They know when there's a guy sitting with money. Like when the young girls are still trying to figure out where the money in the club is, but I mean, when I walk in, I can say to them, "There's money, money, money." I can see them, but the older girls know that.
Yeah.
And they make big money. The girls are making very good money at the moment. Even with our curfews, the girls are earning good money.
And do they have a kind of support if they need to, if they feel like there's been sexual assault in any way?
Yes, we do. We work with Elna McIntosh.
All right.
So we send some of our dancers to her, and if they need any help, she's always been there for us, and she's helped the club through times like that. If anybody needed advice or help.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And in terms of rules, what kinds of rules do you have for members?
For our dancers.
Dancers and
very strict rules. No, for our dancers, very strict rules.
And they are?
Because I always say, it doesn't matter whether you're working for AXA Bank or whether you're working in a strip club, there's rules, and everybody needs to know the house rules. So you have to be on the floor at a certain time, makeup perfect, nails perfect, and it gets checked. And also, I don't like them walking around smoke. You do not walk with a beer in your hand, touch little things like that. Do not put stilettos on my couches. Things like that. And that's house rules. When we close up in the evening, I play a certain song and the girls know it's time to leave the floor. Because you don't want to be caught in the neon lights. Because the only way to get the customers out of the club quickly is to put on the lights and the girls are in the dressing room. There's no talking in my dressing room when they get dressed. Because the girls that can't talk can't fight. So I've got a bouncer in my dressing room watching them, that there's no talking, and we all leave peacefully together and we all do the same thing tomorrow.
And are there any rules about dating customers? Clients?
I always say do not date customers, but I don't know, after they leave the premises, I don't really know what they do. But I always say do not date them, because that's when your money's going to dry up. Yeah, but there's a lot of girls probably dating them, and that's not listening to advice. But from my advice through the years, like I said to you, it's better, I find, not to date customers.
Are there members' rules?
Yes, there's members' rules. We've got an area in the club where there's no touching.
Oh, okay.
And that gets regulated.
Yes.
Then, there's a price tag on that, so your dancers is up to 900 rand in that section. Then there's an area where you can touch the girls on their boobs, no touching below the panty line, and that's good. We check that one out as well, and those dancers are 2,000 rand. And then there's an area that's more than 2,000 rand, where they're allowed to. They can suck toes. I don't know what to, but as long as you make good money in that section, So you have to have rules like that. Otherwise, you can have dancers coming in, and she's going to try to undercut somebody with prices. She's going to try to make more money on the sideline. So you've got areas where there's specific things happening.
And I suppose you don't also want any lawsuits around sexual assault, sexual abuse, especially if you've agreed that you're going to be doing X for X amount, and that's the only thing that's allowed in that section.
Yes.
So those are members' rules as well. If you abide by those rules.
And it's
Wow.
also right of admission. So
Mm.
if somebody comes in and he's trying to touch a girl or he's misbehaving, then the guys will take him out. Well, our bouncers are very well trained, and they will. And that's why I say it's such a safe environment for girls to earn extra money. And a lot of times it's cash.
Mm.
And the girls, I mean, I've got 21-year-old girls that's earning 20,000 Rand a week.
Wow.
For a 21-year-old girl. I mean, where in South Africa does a 21-year-old earn that?
Yeah.
And it's all regulated. I've got good managers. The club is well run as a tight ship that we run in there.
I think that's important. If I were a young girl wanting to make a profession there, I think my safety would be the first concern.
Yes.
So that I was being looked after and supported, and so that would be my first concern. Yeah.
But you know, it's always, I say to them, it's a gamble, because you're not going to get a salary. Some girls can sit in and earn 5,000 Rand, but it is a gamble. But if you do not sit out your week, because somebody can come in on a Tuesday night and you can sit and talk to him and you can spend a lot of money on you. So unfortunately, nothing is guaranteed. It's like going to the casino.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I suppose what you put in, you get out.
Yes.
So if you're going to sit
You've got to
around
put
and
in
be
the
lazy,
hours.
then you're not going to reap the benefits.
Yes.
Absolutely. So Gigi, what is sitting here in front of me?
So in 2014,
Yes,
there's a farm in Stanford that myself and Mike, my co-partner, my husband now, that we really loved. And it was called the Sir Robert Stanford Estate those years. And we saw this tiny little distill there. And I said to Mike, well, I would love to have a little business in Stanford, in the Wifferberg, because I love the Wifferberg. I've got a holiday house there. It's a beautiful part of the country. And I said to him, there was this little distill on the farm. And we went to look at the distill, and there was these stokers, and they were all merry. Stokers is distillers.
Oh, yes.
And they were all very merry, and we tasted all their products. And then a year later, we went back, and the little distillery was closed.
Yes.
So I said to Mike, wow, it's such a beautiful setting, because the distillery was overlooking a pond. And I said to him, it was like a little Mexican tequila kind of cantina kind of place. And I said to him, well, let's go to the farmer and ask him, can we reopen this little distillery? We knew nothing of distilling. And little did I know that there was things like excise, that the laws on creating alcohol in South Africa.
Yes.
So I got little distillers, and we started, we got our old professor in, and we had an old copper still on the farm, and we started producing. And now it's 2021. We've got our own premises now in Stanford. I make gin, limoncello, grappa. I make
Amazing.
Cream liqueurs, Witblitz liqueurs. We've just done our first tequila run, which is exciting because we're using agave sugar from the Karoo, and it's really good. And we're doing our tequila, we're doing the Reposado, we're doing the coffee tequila. So when people, and it's called the Jolly Rooster in Stanford. So when you are in the Wifferberg, come to our little, you can't miss us, we're on the R43, and come and taste our products. And I love working with the distillers. We work with the young people in the area. They just don't take their clothes.
What a pity.
And there's a little stage. I've got a little stage in the corner there. So, like now on Friday night, I've got young people there. They are rapping on stage. There's a whole big community thing in Stanford supporting the people and getting the community out. You know, we were very spoiled in Stanford because it's on the route to the whale coast. So a lot of the tourists used to come for the shark cage diving, to watch the whales, and now there's no tourists. So we have to now put in the communities, and we have to support each other in business, and that's what we do now. But we have to start thinking out of the box at this given stage.
Yeah.
And I sell this at the Lollipop Lounge.
Oh,
yes. And I love, we make a product called Mocha Witblitz. And so a lot of my customers that come into the club, they get a little Mocha Witblitz for free. And it just loosens up things with the dancing, and the customers love the product. Yeah.
Fantastic. Gigi, you've had such a colourful life, so much experience, so much. You've achieved so much.
And I think we're still carrying on.
No,
Yeah.
sure. You've
Yeah.
got so many businesses and interests and loves, and that's amazing.
Thanks.
So, how often do you visit
Lollipop Lounge. I'm there. I go in every day.
Yes.
But on Fridays and Saturdays, I make sure that I'm next to the stage for the showtime.
Yes.
I love my shows. And so, so you can find me always in the club on a Friday and Saturday night, and come and drink a gin with me, and come and visit me, and come and see what we do. And bring your husband and your wife teams. We need the couples out there. Fantasy in a wedding and a marriage is very important.
Absolutely. And that is exactly why we have these conversations on Totally Not Taboo, to just enable our couples in relationships, long-term relationships, short-term relationships, to really just expand their repertoire of fantasy work, and just to be able to get a little taste of what is available out there, to not maybe to get out of this vanilla kind of mindset around sex, sexuality, and play, because play, as you said, is so important in relationships. Fantasy play is awesome. And to pick up some tips.
Yes.
So
and I think especially during lockdown now, I think a lot of couples have spent so much time together. I know a lot of couples that didn't make it through lockdown.
Yes.
And the clubs are there to come out, to experience, to play together, and to get to know your partner as well.
For sure.
And I think it's really sad that people didn't make it through lockdown. And I feel sorry for them, and I really feel sorry for the girls in the exotic industry. So I just feel that we have to go out and support each other for people that's really had such a rough time during this COVID.
And as you said, you can teach lap dance in what?
20 minutes? I can teach you a lap dance in 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Because a lap dance is all here in the eyes.
Yes. And I agree. Go along to the Lollipop Lounge and learn a few.
Yeah. And the girls, if you go as a couple, the girls will be more than willing to teach the wife how to do a lap dance. And go home and practice that when you get home, and see what the reaction is going to be.
Fantastic idea. Thank you, Gigi, for being so generous with your time and your information. And everybody go out there and buy Gigi's book. It's a wonderful autobiography, and I look forward to reading all about your exciting life and all your experiences.
Okay, thanks.
And also, again, if you're in, where's it?
At Stanford.
Yes,
15 minutes from Hermanus. 15 minutes from Hermanus. 15 minutes from Hansberg. We slap bang in the middle on the R43. You cannot miss us.
Beautiful. Go and have a couple of toots over there.
The Jolly Rooster.
So, my lovely audience, my listeners, join us again next week at Totally Not Taboo here at your media. #where you are.